Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FamVestor Podcast. I'm your host, Sonny Burns.
And I am your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
So today we are talking about being a limited screen time family. So just limiting screen time as much as possible. And we've been really good at this for the last 6 months, really hammering down on the screen devices. And we just kind of want to talk about, the perks we've seen and just things to watch out for with your kids once you give them like screen time and just,
also other ideas of what you can do instead of putting a screen in front of your kids.
Yeah, and that's the biggest perk, I think, of all, because you have to replace that with something, and what you replace it with can be truly incredible for your kids.
You can build new skills, new hobbies, new passions, new interests.
Anyway, before we get into that, we do have an announcement. I made my first blog post in about a year, and this is something that's been ticking around in my head for like 2 or 3 years. If you go to famvestor.com/gifts, you'll see this gift guide, and it's not a guide. It's just a list of like 60 different gifts or items that would be awesome as a Christmas gift. Too often I go on, Google and like best things or Oprah's list of 20 items she wants to give in 2021. And it's just such a lame list of things that are, either too expensive or... So this list I consider a life-giving list. Each one of these items, you can start a hobby, and it starts from gifts for kids under 5, and I have a kids digital camera there. This is a gift I gave to my son. He loved taking pictures with it.
It taught him how to focus a camera and make a good photo.
Shot,
he can actually take our photos for us now when we're on vacation or something, because he knows how.
Right, but it was cool. We go to Mexico. It's like, I want to bring my camera, and he has a good time taking pictures and stuff. The next item is like a snow brick maker. So it's, you can make an igloo. So all these things will add value to your life.
We have built multiple igloos.
It's a cool thing. And it only costs $8. So, a huge list of different items. You have remote control stunt car, an ant farm, board
ice
games.
Skates. Yes. My favorite.
Your favorite. You love those skates.
I highly recommend them. If you have young kids and they want to learn how to ice skate, they're adjustable to your foot size, so depending, if you grow, they'll grow with you too.
They're double bladed under each foot, so you have good balance.
Better balance.
Great for like kids like 3 or 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
highly recommend.
We had fun with them last year. I'm hoping this year to get them real skates and get them on the ice skating. Balance bike, for gifts for kids over 6. You can get them a 3D printer. Get them a Sea Monkey kit. Get them an Airzuka. Airzukas are awesome. I have fun. I brought it to my office and I was shooting people these vortex air balls that fly across the office 30 feet and blast a poof of air into their hair.
They are fun and startling.
Yeah. Youth archery bow kit. Our son has been loving at 6 years old archery recently, and he's gotten fairly decent.
Yeah, he went outside and he's like, Mom, I'm going to teach you how to do archery because I'm a master at it. And I take like one shot. He's like, you're getting the hang of it, but you need more practice.
Yeah. Kid's snorkel mask. My son also, I was surprised. Cool. We just put it on his head, and within 20 minutes, he's diving down into the water, learning to blow out the water once he dives, and just, had it on for 20 minutes straight.
If your kids like goggles, they're gonna love this mask.
Yeah, that was really cool. So just a ton of other gifts, with the illustrated Harry Potter, which I'm really looking forward to when my kids are a little older, reading through that with them. Board games we love. Gifts for adults we love. One of the items, heated mattress pad. I love that thing. It was a gift to us, actually, I think. Kombucha making kit, start another hobby. Scratch the world travel map. We have a ton of other things, things that we are constantly giving other people, things that people have gifted us that we loved. So just really cool gifts. Oh, inflatable stand-up paddleboard. That's my favorite purchase of the summer. That's such a cool thing. So much better than inflatable kayak, in my opinion. I love the inflatable stand-up paddleboard. Super useful. Breaks down really easy and blows up really easy.
Yeah, easy to transport.
It's such a cool thing. I want to buy a second one.
Pretty stable.
Yeah, and we had all 5 of us on there at one point.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. But great stuff here. Anyway, check it out for yourself. famvestor.com/gifts. I think it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, if you need some ideas of inspiration this holiday season, maybe you'll find something through our ideas.
All right, let's get to the show.
You're listening to the FamVestor Podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
So today's show, we're talking about limited screen time activities for you and your family. And just to share an example of something that happened to us recently, I took all 3 kids to the dentist.
Cleaning day.
Yes, tooth cleaning day. And it was pretty funny, actually, when our boys got up on the dental chair to have their tooth work done. You know, most pediatric dentists have a TV. And they turn something on for the kids. And they're like, what do you want to watch? And kids named a show, Octonauts. And the minute the dentist put it on, they were out like zombies. They were just so enamored by the screen. Like, they didn't even hear him. They just sat there with their mouth open and, like, stared at the screen. And he's like, wow, this works better than laughing gas. He's like, well, your kids really like TV. I'm like, yeah, it's because they don't watch much of it at home. So when they do get to watch it, it's just like the coolest thing ever. And he thought it was just our one son. And then my second son got up there and did the exact same thing. He's like, this is amazing. I don't usually see this. So it was just a funny experience. And it just made me realize, you know, like, our kids aren't so used to it that they are bored of it. You know, like sometimes they'll be at a friend's house and, you know, we'll have the kids watch a movie or something. My kids will sit there and watch the entire thing, even if everyone else runs away after like 20 minutes or gets bored of it and moves on, just because it's still a special treat for them. But I think that's a beautiful thing when they do see it as a special treat rather than a regular occurrence that's constantly, you know, in their life.
Right. Actually, we just got done with movie night. So every Thursday night, we do movie night. And that's if things went well, you know, if homeschool lessons went well.
Behavior is
good. And usually we'll pop some popcorn and enjoy movie night. We'll break out we don't have a TV, but we do have a projector and pull down projector screen. So we'll break that all out, set it up, and sit down as a family for movie night. So we had that tonight. We were watching Pocahontas. I think we enjoyed it more than the kids did. But they were into it too. Yeah, and just a special experience, and use it as like a bonding time for all of us. But
I think the key there, you know, one thing that we've noticed is not having a screen in our daily routine is so powerful. It frees up so much time in our life and our kids' life to invest into more meaningful activities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like TV really is it's the Matrix, you know.
Brain number.
Yeah, no, it's so entertaining that you can live your life through it. You know, there's so many people who do the 9-to-5 grind. They come home, maybe they cook themselves dinner, and then they pop on the telly, and then they repeat it all over again. But that's their main source of fulfillment in their lives. You know, sure, they have to grind, do work, and then entertain themselves. Grind, do work, entertain themselves. And that becomes their whole life. And I feel like that's, you know, the idea of the Matrix, you know, plugging in and just, you know, living life unpurposefully and just going at it. And the kids, I feel like the kids can get that way too. You know, we've started going away from that model, and we've never been bad with TV, but at one point, you know, last year, the kids, we made it like a kind of reward system. You do your lessons well, you can watch TV, which
like 1 hour of TV
right,
or something.
but I just didn't like it because the kids also behavior wise, we can tell immediately, you know, they watch TV, they become so entitled.
They become really moody.
Whiny.
They're unmotivated.
Yeah.
To
even for
be
fun
useful.
things. Like, let's go jump on a joke. No, I want to watch another episode.
Go play outside. Go explore.
Yeah.
Let's go to the playground. You know, things that are wholesome and that would be better for their health and their minds and for everything. And it kind of fosters a laziness.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, so that was like last year, and the whole year we kind of did it. I didn't really love it, but it was working. It kind of helped encourage them through the lessons. But then this summer, you know, we were like, should we do homeschool with the kids? Should we not do homeschool with the kids during the summer days? And yeah, we ended up not forcing it. And and the kids would ask, "Oh, can we watch TV?" And I'm like, "Did you do your lessons?" No. And then they're like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go outside and play in the sandy pit, or I'm gonna play in the creek, or I'm just gonna play in the back." And the whole summer we went without watching any TV.
We didn't watch anything.
I don't think we even did movie nights. Did
when
we do
we
movie
went
nights? I don't think we did it in this summer.
Except
so it was
when
like
we went to
nothing.
grandparents' house. That's when they
Right.
got TV. But it wasn't that often. And
Wait.
what was remarkable was eventually they stopped asking
Yeah,
for it.
they did.
They stopped complaining about
Not getting it.
and having to do other things. And they came to really love other activities that were a lot better for them, like more creative thinking.
Our son, we were just admiring this today. He built a bench. Our 6-year-old built a bench. He took the scrap wood.
He helped himself to your hammer and box of nails in the basement.
I didn't even know he was doing this. But he built it, and he puts it outside next to our other like concrete bench. Oh, this looks great, and I'm just gonna put it right here.
Yeah, he comes into me. He's like, "I built you a garden bench because I know you're trying to make a nice garden, and I'm gonna go put it in the garden, and then you get to decide what we're gonna paint on it, what kind of design." And then he's like, "Actually, I came up with a design. I want to paint sunflowers on." I'm like, "All right, let's do that." But just the fact that he had the ingenuity to go get these materials. He knows how to use a hammer and a nail. He successfully connected the pieces. It's a little wobbly, but...
Yeah, I don't think I can support even him.
It can. He showed me.
Okay,
He sat on it several times.
Basement is a little messy, but yeah, no, but it's cool. It's cool.
Right.
You know, like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, he's gotten into archery. We do so many things. And actually, I want to share a list. I feel like there was a point we were getting at that I'm skipping over.
Basically, like what you can replace
Right.
your screen time with that can really enrich your life. Because if you really sat down and count the amount of hours spent in front of television or even scrolling on your phone or whatever, there's a lot of hours of the day that go into that.
Yeah, I think it's like average American is 5 hours a day.
And just think, if you were gifted 5 free hours to do whatever you wanted during a day, how much you could really accomplish.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing in our family's lifestyle right now.
I mean, people are always asking me, you know, like, how do you do all these things? Like, you're doing rental properties, you're doing Airbnbs, you have a Turo business going, you have a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, and all
a full-time job,
and
you're a dad who's adventurous,
and training for a triathlon, and all this and that, and yeah, they would ask that, and just like, yeah, well, I don't really watch TV, and I there's other things too, but that TV, I think, is really the crux of it. Right. If you can get rid of that.
I think also that TV kind of creates passive informational input.
Yeah.
And you become almost reliant on receiving input for your ideas rather than being the creator of your own ideas. Mm-hmm. And then it makes it harder when you do stop watching something for, okay, I watched 2 hours, let me turn this off. It's harder to switch back into that productive mode.
We see in the kids, like last year, it's like whenever we turn on TV, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. And they would go on this like weird
moody mope.
Yeah. Nothing to do. And they would repeat that over and over again. Nothing to do.
I'd be like, you want something to do? I got 1,000 things you can do. I don't know if you want to do it, but I can give you 1,000 things to make you busy.
But yeah, it's just that thing I was talking about, being entitled. It just springs out of them as soon as they put in front of that screen and that screen gets taken away.
I think, there's so much to, when you're growing up and you're doing school and what you're learning, it's a mental exercising, right? And TV is the opposite of mental exercising most of the time.
Right.
Because you're not actually practicing...
You're not doing
critical thinking, problem solving, creativity.
It's doing all the thinking for you. It's doing all the watching for you. You just have to keep your eyes open. You can tape them open if you want, and information will be fed into your brain.
Right.
I feel like, people are like, what's the difference between books and TV watching, right? But I feel like there's such a distinct difference. Books, you actually have to creatively think about the images you're reading. Yeah. And, yeah, I think
the transfer from text to visual imagery.
Yeah.
And processing what's being read. I mean, there's a lot of skill building behind that.
And I feel like ideas will, inspire you in your head because you are working through things. But in TV, you're not working through things. You're just receiving.
And it is harder to switch back to a productive day when you have been sitting there kind of vegging.
Yeah, no, and I feel like I've last, I don't know, 8 years or so, I've been really good with, limiting my own TV, limiting my own video games, things like that. I feel like this last month, after ACL surgery, I was letting myself kind of get into those things just because, there's not so much I could do all the time. So, we were watching like a volleyball anime, Haiku, for anyone who's into that. And just, I watched Squid Game, something, I wouldn't normally watch. I started playing this Pokemon game called Pokemon Unite. So getting into all these bad habits, and I could see how it like affects me. Like I just want to play all the time. I don't want to do things that I know I should be doing because there's this fun, easy out that I can do to entertain myself. So it's all like short-term little gains at the cost of all these dreams and all these long-term gains that I know I need to go for.
Yeah.
But it's so easy once you make it a habit, to escape to. Like, oh, I'm frustrated. Let me just do this. And I'll get back to that later. And then it's like, oh, no, next episode or next game. And I can see that trap. And it's only been a month and I can see it already forming. So I know I'm saying, like, it's evil and whatever. But I know it's harder to escape than just thinking, like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of that tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think realizing the impact it has on you is a first step to figuring out how to harness that. Because we're not saying that screens are evil. Don't use them. Never, ever, ever. But I think really limiting them to make sure that they are simply there for entertainment purposes every now and then, but not taking away precious time from your wholesome lifestyle is the key.
I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but I remember being so like aghast when, my son and I and the kids are hiking through one of our favorite parks, Flat Rock Nature Brook in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And I see this boy just hugging his mom's leg as he's hiking through the woods, and he's hugging her so he knows where he's going, so he doesn't have to look up from his screen that he's looking down at as they're hiking through the woods. This little boy just has a screen right in front of his face and just watching something.
Great hike we just took.
And it's like an 8-year-old boy or something. I'm just like,
so sad.
Yeah,
he's missing out on so much.
Yeah.
Even for myself, and I'll admit it here too, like when I have my phone on me, if I decide to like go on my social media or something or scroll, I find most of the time there's nothing productive on there that I'm actually doing or gaining. And what I've noticed is after 20 minutes of scrolling, I feel confused about what I want to do next in my day. Like I've kind of lost track of my productivity. Like, oh, when I wake up in the morning, I have a list of 10 things that I hope I'll accomplish by the end of the day. And then when I interrupt that with my technology, I get all like fuzzy in the head. I'm like, what did I want to do today? I know there was something I wanted to do, but I'm distracted. My thoughts are elsewhere. And it really does disrupt your ability to be productive. Right. So a lot of times I'll just put my phone aside and not check it for 4 or 5 hours. Right. And I'll get a good steady streak of productivity, whether it's, whatever I'm doing with the children or something that I'm working on my own. And then once I feel like we've really accomplished a good amount of activity for the day, then I allow myself to check my phone again, But I think it's healthy to be able to disconnect from that because it is pretty derailing. Mm-hmm. from your daily plans and productivity. Yeah,
things that are actually meaningful. So anyway, we want to talk about what do you do with those 5 hours, and this is more related to kids. Because I feel like we do so much things, and I know I know that's because we have to fill this time we have.
Right. We don't twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah, we don't like twiddling our thumbs, and we don't really rely on screens to entertain ourselves. So how else do we entertain ourselves? So I came up with a list of items, and there's a lot to this list, and I broke them out by categories. If you're watching on the youtube.com/fanvestor, or if you're listening, I'll put a link in the show notes. I broke them out between summer category, and I had a separate category for water stuff, winter category, sports category, things we do in the house category, skills to develop category with the kids, indoor activities, and future activities that I'm looking forward to doing with the kids.
And this list is by no means extensive of a lot of the things we do, but it's just a few of the activities we've found.
Right. And I wanted to make the list because sometimes I'm like, oh, what do I do with the kids today? And, I can refer back to this list and be like, oh, okay, we wanted to work on handstands. Let's go do some handstands in the yard. Or,
Yeah, it's kind of a good thing when you do find yourself with extra time and you're like, what should I fill this time with? It's good to have a running list.
Right. And like the future activities, like I keep thinking about things that I want to do, and it's just like, oh, the kids aren't old enough yet, like mountain biking or going scuba diving with them or rock climbing with them. Actually, I did take Valen rock climbing in an indoor gym last year, but
this year we explored fishing, right?
Yeah,
and
fishing.
Valen is super into fishing. Alvin actually won a fishing derby a couple weeks ago. First place for catching the biggest trout in the fishing derby.
And we ate the trout, and it was
did.
good.
And that was pretty cool. That's a new hobby that they've been hooked onto.
Nice.
And I'm excited for it because it's a really wholesome activity, and
Yeah.
it's something they can continue to do throughout their lives and
Right.
improve and build upon.
My son has been bugging me to get into geocaching. He read it in actually it was an audiobook of the Boxcar Children, which he loves. They were geocaching. He's like, I want to do geocaching. So that's a future activity we'll have to do when we have some time.
Archery, we were talking about earlier.
I got to add that to the list.
We're getting into that.
So this summer, I did mention, I did take Valen out mountain biking a couple times. We were hiking all the time, camping all the time, biking all the time. Valen got into tree climbing, backpacking, bike packing, doing triathlons with the kids, doing some disc golf. Actually, this summer we weren't so into disc golf, but we were in the water all the time, swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding, sailing. We got 2 mini sailboats, sunfishes, and had a good time with those. Snorkeling, just getting into that. Can't wait till we go to the Florida Keys this winter to do some snorkeling with the kids. And then wintertime, looking forward to sledding, ice skating, snowball fights, igloo building, skiing. We have season passes for the kids. We're about to go to a ski swap to pick up some cheap skis for Valen, who we can no longer get free skis for.
I don't know how it is around the whole country, but in this area, and I would venture to guess other ski resorts, they give free ski passes to children under a certain age.
Yeah. Our local park is under 7. We'll get a free season pass. So I'm the only one who had to pay for a season pass. Hopefully my knee's good enough at the end of the winter to take them out. But
if you have young kids and you've always dreamed of trying something like that, look into those kind of programs. You might be surprised. There's some pretty awesome free or low-cost ways of doing some of these sports, which, as they get older, may become a little bit more of an expensive sport to do. But just to introduce them to it and see if there's an interest, there's a lot of good programs.
Yeah. And then in our house, we have a trampoline in the basement, so the kids will jump on that. Outside our house, we have a tree swing, so they can swing on that. We have rockets for them to play with. We have a big sandy pit to play in, too. So that's kind of unique to our own situation, but I feel like...
everywhere there's something cool in your landscape, whatever it might be.
And, even when we lived back in Garfield where we didn't have a blade of grass on our property, we'd go to the park all the time. All the time we'd go to the park, or we'd go to the library. We'd make little adventures. We'd go biking someplace. So even when we didn't have, we bought this house with the intention, we're going to be homeschooling. We're really going to be living in this place.
And we want our kids to...
enjoy
be
the
able
outdoors.
to enjoy the outdoors,
right,
and all
safely.
The activities.
Yeah. So that was a big thing too that allows us to, really
remove ourselves from screens. If you're in a very congested area where there aren't a lot of things your kids can do, screens become a much more prevalent activity. But if there is a lot more around you, then that can really help you and as a tool in getting your kids just out there and experiencing life and and exploring. But even when we were in the city, like we were saying, we found our ways with that too. And we had these big planter boxes in front of our houses, and I planted plants in them, but pretty soon I realized they weren't growing because my kids were digging constantly in the planter boxes. And after a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get upset that my plant died. I should be happy that my kids are just like in their own imaginary world, just having a blast digging roadways for their little toy trucks and
pouring water in from this kitchen sink and dragging it outside.
burying acorns, trying to grow trees and stuff, you know. It's healthy for them. And I think a lot of times we forget these are normal childhood activities that kids these days are being deprived of because they're just not so common anymore.
Right. But that was also a big reason we moved to the place we did. You know, we really thought about, you know, what do we want? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you don't, like we're saying, you don't have to have this, but and now makes it so much easier. We're like, oh, we want to live in a cul-de-sac. You know, we don't want to have to worry about these cars zipping by at 40 miles per hour. They can't in the cul-de-sac. You know, we were like, we want to live by a creek or a lake so that, you know, the kids can enjoy exploring the creek. I remember spending my whole summer in the creek.
What you can learn from just playing in a creek about ecosystem, about changing water and tides and, you know, the little critters that live inside and alongside creek beds. It's just such an amazing world.
Right. Yeah, the lake I'm discovering is so much cooler than I originally thought, you know. I can do my triathlon swims, like I can do a mile swim in there, you know, back and forth. We go kayaking all the time. There's rope swings. We can jump into the lake. Just so much things that are so awesome about living by a lake.
And I mean, not everyone can move, but if you are thinking about moving, it's great to think about the kind of things like beyond just the building that you're going to live in. What can you do to get out and about? What does the area offer you? Right.
And we were trying to find, like, you know, we didn't want to pay too much for a house and like high taxes. So we're like, we don't really care about the backyard, but we want to make sure that it backs up to like state land or something. So we're not necessarily paying for all this land, but we have access to it. And so that's what we were looking for, you know, like forests or, you know, backing up to, public land, whatever.
Lots of great hiking trails around here, which we take full advantage of quite often.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's our situation. But there's so many cool things you can do, and we're, you know, working our way through this list here. The rockets were pretty cool. We have stomp rockets, but we also have...
I built this PVC rocket. I got to make a video of that. But, yeah, you can search, like, this old house water rocket and see how to build it. But
with
it's
like a soda bottle and an air pump.
Yeah. And the kids had so much. We use that all the time.
It's so much fun. And they learned about rocketry and
we started making model
air
rockets
pressure,
too with engines.
And then now you're doing model rockets with engines and combustible material.
Unfortunately, it got lost in a tree the other day, but
it went way too high and the wind carried it off.
We put the big engine in.
Our poor rocket.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a cool hobby too that's sparking kids' interest in, you know, rockets and outer space and even NASA, and they're asking questions, you know, and it starts conversations about things that you never know where it's going to take your child. Maybe they'll be the next aerospace engineer because when they were 6, they did rockets with their dad. You know, you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, and talking about sparking things, you know, I want to do cool things with the kids, like do like a fire making lesson where they each try to make, you know, a fire in a safe environment. Teach them those skills.
Outdoors.
Skills. And indoors we do some cool things too. You know, we have a bunch of board games. Actually, if you look at that gift list, I have some of our favorite board games on there. Kids have really been into King Domino recently, so playing that with them.
Catan, amazingly enough. Yeah. I mean, our kids are only 4 and 6, but they completely grasp the concept. And we can sit down and play a full-length game of Settlers of Catan.
Which usually takes an hour and a half to 2 hours.
It's a lot of strategizing, too. But it's building those critical thinking, problem-solving synapses in the brain, which are so crucial to developing a good solid mind, you know? So we're really excited to see our kids getting excited about these activities.
Right. And we're thinking next year that we're actually going to start quail farming or having chickens. And just, I think that's going to be really cool because, you know, we'll be able to show the whole life cycle to the kids, especially with quail. I think, you know, we can have them breed and we can have a little brooder and they can, you know, have the chickens grow up, and even like meat harvesting I want to get into, and just, you know, getting eggs every day. I think that'd be really cool. And then
the
just,
life cycle of a little creature,
and using the poop as compost, and we can start. We do have a semi garden. It's not growing very well, but maybe with some good quail compost, it would be grown better.
I mean, we have a lot we can learn too, and these are not only hobbies for our own kids, but hobbies for us that we want to get into and learn more about, and just expand our knowledge for gardening and creating food. I mean, this year we accidentally grew pumpkins, and the kids had so much fun watching the pumpkins grow, and then, you know, trying to figure out when to pick them, and are they ripe, and how big will they get, asking why their pumpkins aren't getting bigger than the ones they find in the store. And then we talk about different varieties and breeds of pumpkins and all sorts of things like that. So
our neighbor 2 blocks away has a 1,200-pound pumpkin. He entered in like a contest and stuff. He got second place.
But he has taken pumpkin growing to another level.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah.
But it's cool. You know, all these things are just life experiences,
right.
and they're fun and wholesome, and the kids get really excited for them. Right now, our kids are super enthusiastic about rocks and minerals. And I love that that's their passion right now, because it's piquing their interest in science and geology. And they're asking questions about what makes a precious gemstone versus a semi-precious gemstone versus a mineral, you know? And can I mine for gold in my creek in the backyard? And it's like, well, no, not really, but let's talk about that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really cool. We have this glass display case that they're constantly rearranging with all the natural specimens they're collecting, rocks and seashells and beehives they've found, and birds' nests they've found, and snake skins they've found, and deer antlers. It's just pretty cool. And it's just awesome seeing them, you know, getting excited about the natural world around them.
Yeah. Yeah, and last summer they bought a rock tumbler at a garage sale, and we did that once, and that was cool.
And they made me a pair of earrings from it.
Did they?
They did.
Wow.
The glue didn't hold, but they did. They needed better glue.
Yeah.
But I was impressed, you know? And I'm just really glad that our kids are using their hands and their minds on a daily basis to
We
do
were
these
walking
things.
through a farm. We went for like a pumpkin hayride or something, and there was like a gravel driveway, and my youngest 4-year-old son picks up a rock and he's like, "This looks like rose quartz," in the gravel bed. "Is this rose quartz?" And he like puts it in his pocket. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's really great to see them blossoming and having curiosity about the world around them, you know? And
yeah. Anyway,
there's still so much we want to explore further, you know, like I'm actually getting excited on a totally different level about the idea of introducing chores into our life.
Yeah, we got to do that.
And I'm thinking I don't even want to call it chores. I mean, we do have a few chores for the kids right now, but I really think that could be an enriching area of life too. If you can switch the mindset of it being, oh, work nobody wants to do, to something like, this is a life skill that you are cultivating, you know. Learning how to clean well is a really good skill. Learning how to organize your things is a good skill. You know, learning, I will say for myself, I've gotten multiple compliments from people that I'm incredibly efficient at vacuuming, neatening, and doing the dishes. Not just from you. And I think that, you know, that has come from many, many years of investing into these skills. But I think that they're so important that you know how to do those things. So trying to get our little ones to get excited about that is like the next frontier for next year, New Year's goal.
So anyway, back to screen time stuff. I feel like, so right now, all we do for screen time is, movie nights on Thursday. And during the week, almost nothing unless they go to like grandparents' house or something.
The only thing we are doing is some educational programs on the screen.
Right. So we do have some laptops,
which
and
we
break
don't
them.
do every day.
Yeah.
But we do like
readingeggs.com.
Reading Eggs, which
and
has really
Extra Math.
And Extra Math. Both programs which are really advancing and enriching our children's skill set in reading and in math. So it is a screen, and they are on it, but they're not passively receiving input. They are proactively interacting with it to solve problems and think critically and grow a necessary skill, reading and math. So we approved that this year in our lifestyle as something that we felt was worthy of them participating in.
Right.
And honestly, because they don't watch regular TV, they think this math platform and this reading platform is the funnest thing they've ever done in their life.
They do love it. And I'm kind of like, well, is it okay?
They love it too much.
Yeah, they'll go and go and go unless we stop them.
Yeah. But we have seen a tremendous increase in their, reading ability.
It's good. It's a good thing.
So they are learning from it. And so, in very monitored ways, you can have screens in your life and they can actually really serve you well. But the key is just figuring out what is the difference between productive screen time and non-productive screen time.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to say, like, we do have other entertainment sources too. Like every night, we go to the library like once a week, and every night I read, one book each to the boys. So each boy picks out a book, a children's book that we got from the library. I read it, and then we were also reading a novel. In the last, since ACL surgery, we started reading novels. We read Danny and the Champion of the World by Roald Dahl. We read Where the Red Fern Grows. We started reading Artemis Fowl. It seems a bit advanced, but I just got from the library. I rented or I requested it. Is a graphic novel version of Artemis Fowl. So I'm thinking they might like that a little more.
But it's nice that we can explore these more advanced books with them too. They're not just stuck in what they're able to read themselves, but actually listening to stories, audiobooks. They love audiobooks. But
I'm liking that they're getting into these books because, like I said, I think they're so much better than, getting into a TV show or getting into that. And I think if TV was in the mix, these wouldn't be as important to them or enticing to them. And even audiobooks, our kids love listening to audiobooks, which I encourage. I think it's a great thing. Again, I think it sparks the mind, and yeah. So is that it? We got anything else?
I don't know. I think that's pretty much what we wanted to say to that. I just think it's all around been a very beautiful decision that we made in our life.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times when we tell people that we're doing this, they are very confused as to why we would
why don't you have a TV
to
in
put
your
ourselves
house?
through this hardship, or what they think might be a hardship. You could have it so much easier if you just let them watch stuff, And
I agree. It would be easier for that hour or 2 hours or 5 hours.
Yeah.
But whenever that TV gets clicked off, that behavior really is not what we want in our kids.
And I think, I just love the fact that even though we are fully plugged in all day long with our kids and having to be in the mix because we're not putting them in front of a screen, we're having more meaningful time as a family. We are growing memories with our children. We're not just in the other room doing something while they're glued to a screen. And I think that that'll be powerful for them to look back on all these memories and just know that they did these as a family with their parents. I think that that's really a beautiful, powerful thing that is kind of getting lost right now with the inundation of screens.
Right.
And something to watch out for. We were at a restaurant recently, and it was a hibachi restaurant, which is a for anyone who hasn't done it, a really cool experience because the chef comes to your table and like cooks the entire meal in a really showy way right in front of the table for you. It's like watching a performance. And this family was having hibachi, and there are 2 kids in front of them. They had plugged the tablets.
And headphones on them.
And headphones. And the kids did not make a peep the entire time. The adults had a wonderful time enjoying the hibachi show. I don't think the kids saw a single moment of it. And then when the food was given to them, the mother was just shoving it in their like gaping mouth. As they
chew.
were just looking at the screen. They weren't even experiencing the flavors of the meal or the family bonding of all being together with the family. And I think that that's just so sad. It's like a beautiful life memory that will not be a memory at all for those children because they just weren't present. You know, they just know what Peppa Pig was doing on the screen at that moment, you know? And I think that that's worrisome because it's not creating these meaningful bonding moments, which are so integral for human connection. And we got to watch that in technology age, that we're really connecting with each other, not just coexisting with each other.
Right. Yeah, I think with that we want to end the episode, but I want to challenge all you listeners, you know, think about and try to measure, you know, how much screen time you're actually using, and maybe take a challenge of, you know, we've talked in earlier episodes about doing like a blackout week or something like that, like just, you know, doing away with it for a week, getting, you know, unplugging your TV for the week and seeing what happens, and seeing maybe it's, you know, harder in the beginning, harder for those hours that they might be watching, but over the days it might get easier. And yeah, I want to challenge.
You might really love the change of pace, even for yourself, you know, if you unplug from your own devices.
Yeah.
And slow down, take a deep breath, live in that moment fully, that moment that's been given to you that's never ever going to come back. Make the most of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Yeah, let us know what you thought. Let us know if you do challenge and any changes that might occur. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences with that. And with that, thanks everyone. Godspeed.